I'll make a little message now and then put it at the beginning of the video. So by the way, I'm actually in the middle of the video now and realize that I didn't turn my microphones on. I'm going to put this at the front of the video so I can, so that you know why the audio might be strange or different or not as good. Anyway, here's Deepu. Okay, well, I'm here with my buddy Deepu, old buddy.
What, you've started already?
Yeah, it's already recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. And Deepu is a long-term resident of Kobe.
Very
He knows
long.
everything about Kobe. Were you actually born here?
No. I was born in Hong Kong, and my parents brought me here when I was 3 months old.
Wow, okay.
70 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came here when you were 3 years old.
3 months.
3 months old. Why were you in Hong Kong? Why were your parents in Hong Kong?
Okay, my father had come to Japan to open his office.
Right?
Okay?
Doctoral office. He's a doctor, right?
No.
Yes. What was he?
Businessman.
Oh, okay.
Involved
I
in
see.
textiles and stuff.
All right, okay.
He actually came to Japan to close the office, which he had appointed an agent. And he actually came to Japan to get rid of him and close the office. But he came and he saw the potential and he loved Japan. So he decided, no, I'm not going to close the office. I'm going to move to Japan.
Right.
And he stayed for a couple months and built up contacts, whatever. And he thought he was ready. So he then went to India to get married to my mother. They got married and then went for the honeymoon to Sri Lanka, Ceylon,
Right.
which is now Sri Lanka.
Before you continue, before you're thinking like, what does this have to do with Japan? Well, there's a long history of a lot of foreigners who live in Japan, like more than a 200-year history of Kobe being a really open place to foreigners. And I want to get this story, and it's an interesting story. So, and also, sorry, just to because people watch the first 5 minutes and then they go whatever.
Right.
But I want to I also want to get to your life in Kobe and about the foreign community in Kobe. So this is going to be applied to you because I'm trying to convince people to come and move here.
Right.
So you're going to see how other people came to Japan and were attracted, including the previous generation. Okay, so he came and just like me, went, wow.
Yeah.
And then he decided to stay in Japan.
Well,
okay, so he went back and was it an
married.
arranged marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because Indians, even now, but a long time ago, it was like almost 100% arranged marriages.
Yeah.
You know that arranged marriages last longer than...
Well, this is a theory or the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
They say, look, the parents try to match you up the best as they can, right? You may not be in love now, but you guys will fall in love.
Yeah.
That will take a few years, but that way you're going to stay in love.
I hear
against today, you fall in love. Yeah, I love you. Let's get married, and then the spark's gone.
Another thing is like when you think about it like this, like somebody in your community who knows you and knows your family and knows some woman and knows her family thinks these two will be a good pair. These families will get along, and that is so much more important than people realize.
Right.
The same area, same value system, and somebody
Things
else.
in common.
And probably like Japan in India, tell me if I'm wrong, the person setting this up has a lot of responsibility, right?
Oh, yes.
Right,
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah, that happens in Japan too, because there are arranged marriages in Japan too.
Yeah.
But in Japan, the woman could refuse. In India?
Oh, yeah, they can refuse.
All right.
But either party, man or the woman, they can.
Okay, cool. So he gets married, comes to Japan.
No, goes to Sri Lanka for their honeymoon.
Okay.
Because my father's parents moved to Sri Lanka when India and Pakistan was formed, when there was a partition. We're called Sindhis. We're a small community in India.
Okay.
So we have Sindhis all around the world. My grandparents went to Sri Lanka. So they went on their honeymoon, and supposedly I was made on the beach of Sri Lanka, somewhere in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka has amazing beaches
Right.
that most people don't know about.
Supposedly I was made there. And then in those days, it wasn't planes so much. It was more traveling by ship.
Right, yeah.
So they stayed in Sri Lanka for 3 months or whatever it was. Shipped to Hong Kong. Lots of family and relatives there, so they were going to stop in Hong Kong. My mom got off the ship and everything and said, "Oh, I don't feel too great." My father's seasick. Yeah, the most reasonable possibility. Went to the doc. Hello, you're pregnant.
Congratulations.
6 months. Congratulations. 6 months. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So no flying. Mom stayed there. Dad came back and forth. I was born, and they brought me here.
I see. That's cool.
3 months old.
There are Indian communities in every country in Asia, right?
Just about.
Yeah, just like there's Chinese communities.
I can't think of anywhere where you don't have Indians.
Yeah, I just went to Singapore. Right. Of course, there's a huge Indian population there, right? And which is good because you guys bring curry everywhere, so that's...
Well, talking about Singapore and Indians, okay. Like, there are all kinds of Indians. Tamils, Punjabis, Sindhis, what have you. Singapore, Tamils are prevalent.
Right, yeah.
So it's actually one of the 4 national languages of Singapore. Singapore is the only country in the world that has literally 4 national languages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's one thing I noticed about Kobe, just to bring it back here. It's like, because the whole time I've been in Kobe, I've been a musician and playing in bars and stuff like that. And I would see lots of Indian people around. And to me, Canadian, it's India. It's one country. Never dawned on me that, like, even in Canada, we have French Canadians, we have Ontario French, we have there's Northern Ontario, Southern Ontario, there's the West Coast, British Columbia, there's the East Coast, Newfoundlanders. And then in the States, I mean, Jesus, like California, Arizona, different cultures. Arizona, Texas, different cultures. Texas, Georgia, different cultures.
Different cultures, yes. But the language is more or less the same.
Right. But I learned in Kobe, it's like, your Indian heritage is like different than Deepu's Indian heritage or these people. Yeah. All very different. You guys get along more or less? All the different...
No. No. That's what I was just going to say when you talked about Canada, except for the French and the English language. America, culture is a bit different here and there, east, west, whatever, but language is about the same. But in India, you've got 123 dialects.
Right, yeah.
So an Indian from say way up north and an Indian south somewhere in the mountains, they cannot communicate in what is called the Indian language because different dialect.
Right, I see.
Okay. Hindu is a major language, but not everyone knows Hindu.
I see.
Yeah.
So you'd have to know like Hindu plus your local language.
If you want to get around India, and for foreigners and people like us, it's English. There's no other choice.
No, sure. Of course, yeah. So so your father came to Kobe.
Right.
Right, and he had this textile business, and so tell me what was your life growing up in Kobe? Did you go to a Japanese school, an international school? Tell me about that.
Growing up, just fantastic, wonderful. Wouldn't change it for the world. When I was about 3 or something, I went to these Japanese preschools, just for 1 year. After that, from kindergarten all the way through to senior graduation. There's an international school called Marist Brothers International School.
Right.
And Marist is schools, they have schools all over the world. So we're part of the family, Marist family. Yep. There's even a Marist college in America. In those days, it was all brothers, what we call brothers. Yep. They're all Catholics. It was a Catholic school. Very small comparative to Marist in America or what have you. I would say an average classroom was about 22 to 24 students.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that was good a long time ago, but these days it's a lot smaller, I think.
No, per classroom in Marist? No. Right now they have more than we had then.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because fewer foreigners?
Yes, more Japanese.
I see.
Yeah, so 22 to 24 to a class, approximately 300 something students from kindergarten all the way to the senior class.
That's the size of my high school.
Right? But 44 nationalities.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what...
Which is great.
That's what was great.
Yeah.
So you look at my class, 22, 24 of us, 9 nationalities. They're all buddies, right? I mean, you're all buddies.
Yeah.
So one day I'm going to this guy's house and having Russian food.
Yeah.
Next day I'm going there and having Turkish food.
Right.
They're coming to my house having Indian food.
Right.
And so stuff like food and culture and stuff was just in us. We didn't have to think about it. It came
Right.
very naturally.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you like. I'm thinking about this, like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I imagine like when you grow up with it, you don't suddenly like what I do is when I meet somebody from a culture I've never met before, I start asking all these stupid questions.
Yeah.
Well, stupid questions. I just play. Hey, I'm naive. I know
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
about your country. What's the food like, and what's the
Right.
weather like, and stuff like
That's
that.
normal.
Right, but when you grow up with them,
It's
it's just kind of
second nature.
natural, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then you
I-
it's more like once you grow up, you realize I know a lot about Russians and Russian people,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, I got like an education about Chinese or Hong Kong.
we took it for granted,
Yeah, yeah,
and even the English language, for example, which was the major language, of course, at school, but you have British English and American English.
Right,
Of course,
yeah.
you have Canadian, Australian,
Yeah,
all that. But just as an example, and I found I travel a lot, and over the years, I just slide into the accents very easily. I don't even think about it. If I'm in England, it's the British style of pronunciation or
Right.
speaking, roof or trunk or boot, or
Right, yeah, yeah.
it's all the same thing. But I just slide right into it.
Hmm.
And that was all those things that we got from school
Right.
and classmates. Yeah.
So if you move your family over here, you're
Mhm.
probably looking at international schools, and Marist Brothers will be one. The
Yeah.
other one is Canadian Academy.
That's right.
It's on Port Island, so you got
Rocco Island.
Rocco Island. Sorry, yes, it's on Rocco Island.
Mm.
So you got to cross the bridge, or you got to live there. And Rocco Island's a nice place to live. Okay, so your education, you think, was like your average education? You just studied history and geography and stuff like that. You also take Japanese classes?
Huh. That's the thing. When we were in school, during my days, you were not allowed to speak Japanese, even though we lived in Japan. I know it was really stupid. I always felt it was stupid. If you said konnichiwa, you were in detention on Saturday. You were not even allowed to speak Japanese.
What's the rationale, do you think?
I could never understand. I don't know. Up to today, I don't know. But when I was a senior, they finally started teaching Japanese. In my senior year, what's that, 40 minutes per week? What do you get out of that in your senior year? And senior year, you're not studying anyway.
Yeah.
But today, yes, they speak Japanese and they all speak Japanese English. So we lost out on that aspect, which is why I could never read or write Japanese.
Yeah.
I never studied.
Because I was going to say, I was going to ask you about that today because somebody asked about, asking guests about that. They said, like, somebody asked, can you read and write Japanese? So you can speak Japanese, but you don't. So you learn Japanese kind of like outside of school with your friends and stuff like that, right?
My upbringing, I told you, 1 year in the preschool neighborhood. Television was all in Japanese.
Right, yeah.
Right? Not sound too big, but in those days, a lot of foreigners who managed to make good living had maids because it was cheap in those days. Servants, maids, drivers, all Japanese. And yeah, when you go downtown, when you go out for lunch, dinner, it was all Japanese.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, I always end up like jumping topics.
Yeah, no problem.
So you grew up with Japanese friends too, of course, right?
Yeah, but outside of school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I noticed I noticed when you speak Japanese, it's fluent, but it's not like somebody who studied Japanese, someone who just learned it from other people, right? And you speak colloquially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would use slang words that people who study Japanese don't know.
Right.
Never heard of.
Yeah. And probably ideally would learn both.
Yeah.
And then even some Japanese people, as you know, can't speak the super polite Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing you said, like about the maids, that's really interesting because a lot of people don't realize what a dirt poor shithole Japan was because it got bombed to
That's
almost got decimated in the war.
right. And that was 1945.
Right.
My father came in 1954.
Right.
9 years. It was still a very poor country.
Right.
Mm.
And so, there was, so Japanese people worked incredibly hard to build this country back up. And, a lot of people know Japan from like the bubble in the 80s and 90s
Right.
when they were selling cars like hotcakes and stuff like that. But until then, it was pretty crummy in a lot of places in Japan. Can you talk about that? Like, what was it like growing up? Or what were things like? And like dirt streets, like, in Kobe, the streets were dirt. There's no paved roads, or were they cobblestone? Or what?
By the time I was like 3 or 4,
Right.
when I could understand what's going on, no, there weren't dirt roads. Kobe was all paved and all that. Obviously not built up at all.
Right.
All 2-floor houses, 1-floor houses, wooden houses, but nice Western houses.
Okay.
So.
Well, a mix, right? There were some Western houses and Japanese houses too, right?
Yeah. Well, where I live is an area called Kitano.
Right.
And in that area, which today lots of people all over Japan from Asia come to see, it's called Ijinkan, which basically means a foreign settlement type of area. And in that area, you have lots of foreign-styled houses that expatriates built.
Right.
Yeah. So I came way after those houses were built.
Right.
So I lived in one of those houses.
So the history behind that is that so all these shipping company owners, these shipping magnates, and embassies,
consulates, banks,
and bankers, and all these rich people, they were kind of given or were allowed to build or whatever. I thought they were like given land on top of the hill to build their houses and embassies. A lot of these people shipped brick for brick houses from Italy and England, so they're still standing now in Kitano, right?
Yeah.
So am I wrong in the story? Like,
they were not given any land. They bought the land.
They bought the land
because in those days, particularly Europeans, they love living on the hillside and so on. When you go to Italy or whatever, and when Japan first opened, Kobe first opened their ports to foreigners in 1869. There was an area called the Foreign Settlement, which was down by the sea, and all those foreigners had to be there. They could move around, but they had to be there, live in there, work out of there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a thing where like the foreigners wanted to live on the hill, and the Japanese were like, "Yeah, okay, go ahead. We don't want to live on the hill. We want to live close to the ocean."
Yeah. So therefore, initially, foreigners could not go anywhere. But as the time went on, they started moving upwards, right? So you're talking the seaside, then it's difficult to explain to people here, but call it the mid-levels, which would be where Ikuta Jinja and Ikuta Shrine and all that. And then kept going up. Because foreigners wanted to go up.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what else about like old Japan, that like when you were a kid, like I don't know, like restaurants.
When I was a kid, right? So I can't tell you before that, but when I was a kid, it was fantastic. Even the restaurants, because you had all these Italian restaurants, of course, but a lot of American restaurants, and even when it comes to music, we had Dixieland clubs.
Oh wow!
Because it was all the foreigners that started introducing all these restaurants and jazz and so on. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a restaurant called Donna Loya's. Okay, not so famous now, but it's still there. It was the first ever Italian restaurant in all of Kansai. Yeah. We had a place called the Texas Tavern, which goes down memory lane. It's fantastic. Oriental Hotel. Yeah, not the American Park Oriental Hotel, the Oriental Hotel. Originally, it was, well, it still is in the area called the Foreign Settlement.
Right.
It's still famous for its curry.
Oh, really?
Wow. When I say curry, automatically you think Indian. Yes, Indian, but it was a British that brought it. Because the British put in their own ingredients or whatever. Right. And that is still the original recipe.
Wow. So actually, Kobe is like more has more foreign influence than I realized.
Lots,
Yeah.
lots, in so many ways.
Mhm.
And very, very interesting. You ever have ramune? You know the
Yes,
soft
yes,
drink
yes.
called ramune?
Yeah, in fact, I have some in my fridge because
Okay, you like it?
my buddy Chris, my buddy Chris. he
Oh,
sells,
yes, I saw that podcast.
Genki lemonade.
I saw that podcast.
Yeah,
So he should know about it.
Yeah.
But it was a foreigner who started it in
Right.
this sense.
Yeah.
There's a very famous guy called Mr. Alexander Sims.
Hmm.
He's the founder of the oldest foreign social and sports club in Japan, called the Kobe Regatta and Athletic Club.
Oh, he started that?
Yes,
Oh.
he's from Scotland, from Aberdeen. There's a statue and a plaque of him in what was the foreign settlement, which City Hall was put up there.
Right.
Yeah, in Higashi UNT Park, it's called, next to City Hall. Anyway, he was a physicist. And they're all, like I said, in this foreign compound. And being a physicist, outside of medicine and everything, whatever, he started serving booze like gin tonics and stuff. And one of his main things was lemonade.
Hmm.
Until then, there was no lemonade in Japan, right?
Right.
So lemonade. Now, you know how Japanese pronounce things.
Yeah.
Lemonade
Yeah.
started becoming and changing, became ramune.
Yeah.
And that's how ramune was born.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
I didn't know his connection to the we call it KRAC, Kobe Regatta and Athletic Club. I didn't know that connection. I remember now being at your place, in your party room,
Hmm.
or was it another room? And you had a huge book like this,
That's right.
all the old maps of Kobe.
Oh, maps, no.
Yeah, isn't it maps or history of Kobe with maps in it?
Well, no, I don't have it. I do have a huge book like that.
So what am I talking about? Because you showed me a place where it had like the land where like you called it the foreign settlement or
Yeah.
whatever like that, and is like
You
maybe
sure?
you don't even know you have that book.
You sure it was
Anyway,
me?
yes,
No, I
yes.
have the book. There would be some sketches in the book, but that book is basically a two-man show. It's a whole bunch of letters written back and forth between a person called Harold Williams, who was a historian, amongst other things. He wrote the history of the KRC as well as of the Kobe Club. But anyway, this is about KRC. And a guy called Mr. David James. Now, you've ever heard of James Yama, which is in Shoya?
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
that's his brother.
Right.
He owned the whole mountain,
Right.
the entire mountain. It was called Mount James Yama, until he sold it in the 40s, 50s, and moved back. Well, David was his brother, and he left Japan in the early 1950s. And he and Harold kept writing letters regarding the KREC.
Oh, okay. So that's
So
right.
these are a whole bunch of historical facts and stuff that Harold Williams based his book on.
Oh, okay.
And therefore, the book was born.
I see. Another interesting thing about Kobe, and so you would, I don't know. Oh, sorry. Tell me when you were a kid, how built up was the coastal area? Because where Route 43 is.
Yeah.
Route 43. That's where the beach was
That's
a
right.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Now there's a highway there, and if you ever come to Kobe, there's
Yeah.
the highway running, the lowest highway. That's where the beach was, but actually there's another 100 to 500 meters, depending on where you are, extended out from there, and it's
Yeah.
all man-made,
That's
or
right.
like all reclaimed land or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, was that already built up?
No, there was no Route
Oh
43.
wow!
That's why if you look at the name KREC,
Mm.
Kobe Regatta and Athletic Club.
Oh,
Regatta.
right. So it was
That means you have to you have to be near the water,
right,
which
right.
is what you're talking about. We were near the water.
Wow.
But then when we moved to our present location, of course, by which time Route 43 was built and all that, there is no water.
Okay.
So the name is Kobe Regatta and Athletic Club, but
Right.
no regatta.
Right, I see. Well, and there is, but you'd have to walk a ways to get to the boats, right?
Well, as a club,
right.
we didn't have
There's
regatta.
no more sailing anymore, right?
Yeah, well, there wasn't.
I
At
see.
one point in time, I was president of the club and I brought back the regatta.
Mm.
The only way I could do that is by tying up with a rowing club.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, we brought back the regatta, but that's gone too.
I see. So, yeah. So, and then if you come to Japan and you just look out the window while you're taking the train out to the sea, you'll see some big islands there. So Roko Island must have been built already.
No, when I was a kid,
Really?
there was no
okay.
Roko Island. There was no Port Island.
Wow.
That's all reclaimed land.
Okay.
And that Port Island came into being when I was probably about 18 or something like that.
Oh.
So that's like 50 years ago, maybe 52, 50. And Roko Island, maybe 35 years ago, 40 years ago.
I heard they built it by taking parts of Roko Mountain and they dump it in the sea. And
It wasn't so much Roko, as far as I know, at least for Port, maybe Roko, yes. But Port Island, it would be from Suma and Tarumi.
Oh, okay.
And they would have conveyor belts from the mountains down to the Suma beach area, load them onto barges, and the barges would bring it here. And it took like 7 years or 8 years or whatever.
That's crazy. Well, I was here before. I was here when Kansai Airport was just finished, I think, and then and I was here when Kobe Airport was built too. So there was nothing out there. Oh, they just keep building and building. Okay, so you always loved Kobe, but you lived in different places.
Yes, I have.
And why did you come back to Japan?
Because I love Kobe. I love Japan. But my main reason, of course, is my parents.
Okay.
They were getting on in age. I decided to come back when my dad was around 78, 79. My mom was about 77, 76. And I did what I had to do. And I was lucky. I was in a position where I could sell off. I did well. Knock on wood, I did pretty well. Sold off everything and came back. And, to be with my parents mostly. But of course, if I was going to go back or go anywhere, it would have been Kobe anyway. But I was so lucky that I got 18, 19 extra years with my parents.
Yeah.
So it was the best decision I made.
They definitely beat the system.
Yeah.
How do you think they live so long? Like they're clean living or no?
Clean living for sure, but I don't know. Well, one of the things my dad would always say is the medical facilities in Japan.
Yeah.
Luckily, they didn't have to use that too much, but he said, I'm never leaving Japan. The best medicine, the best benefits. Why should I leave?
Yeah.
I think they were in love and what have you. And Kobe, especially, is not a rush city, so it's not stressful in that sense. The air is clean. So all these things contribute, I guess, to your health, like water and so on.
Yeah, you know what I've heard about, you've heard about the blue zones before, right? The 5 areas of the world where people live the longest.
Yeah.
Okinawa, place in Greece, Sardinia, some place in California because there's so many 7-day Adventists. Is that the
right? Yeah.
And then some other place I forget. Anyway, those people don't have a gym membership or anything like. They don't exercise. They don't go jogging.
That's
They
right.
just walk all the time. And
Yes.
in Kitano,
Yeah.
there's no bus or train or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have to walk everywhere. So they're probably walking down the hill to the supermarket and up the hill.
And that wouldn't be a reason for my parents. Sorry,
Yeah.
drivers
They drove everywhere. Oh, I see.
in those days. So it wouldn't be that. No, I don't know. Just lucky.
Mm.
I mean,
Well, DNA is number one. So, no, so
That's-
maybe you'll live to 100 too.
well, they didn't drink, they didn't smoke. They slept regular hours.
Right.
All the opposite of me.
Right.
So I don't know.
But if you have the DNA like Keith Richards, you can defy a lot of bad living. So, okay. And so what are the things you like most about Kobe? Okay. So yeah, let's just center on Kobe. Why do you like Kobe so much compared to other places? Like if you're going to sell Kobe.
Are you talking compared to other places in the world, or are you talking
other places in Japan?
In Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's take Japan. First of all, we have the mountain and the sea. Right? It's so beautiful. It's so nice. Clean air, mountain and sea.
Yeah, so almost anywhere you are in Kobe, you can see. Oh, no, I'm not talking about.
Right.
Almost anywhere you are in Kobe, You see mountains, and like if I open up the curtains over, you'd be able to see mountains back there. And then if I go to the front part of my apartment, I can see the ocean. And you can't always see the ocean from wherever you are, but if you just go up a little bit on a slope, yeah, you can see the ocean.
Well,
And
basically, it's a 15-minute walk from the mountain, side of the mountain,
right,
to the sea, right?
right. And it's very, very narrow
Yeah.
area from the mountain until the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you're drunk and you want to get home, all you have to do is which a mountain. That's where I live, and you just go.
This is a funny thing that I've heard
Yeah.
about Kobe people is
Yeah.
they have no sense of direction.
Use a mountain and the
Right,
sea.
because
Yeah.
they've never had to find north and south. North is the mountain, and south
That's
is
right.
the.
That's
And
right.
if you say if you're drunk, you're walking. It's like just go up the slope
Yeah.
to go back home,
That's
or
right.
if you live down the slope,
Yeah,
then you
just
walk
go down, yeah.
Just keep walking down, and you'll get home.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty. Another
Yeah,
thing about
yeah.
Kobe people is they ignore lights all the time because so few cars go this way
Yeah.
that they just kind of look both ways and go through lights. But Japanese typically don't ignore traffic lights; they normally stay at them. People in Kobe tend to ignore the north one, south ones. Sorry, just to milk this mountain and city. It also means that we have a lot to do.
Yes, absolutely.
You can go to the beach, you can go hiking, you can go to the beach in the same day.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's lots of nice restaurants that are perched on mountains. and with a
Mountainside,
great view.
seaside, both. Again,
Seaside restaurants you can
Yeah.
go to.
Right.
Yeah, it's take a walk by the ocean. Yeah, so
so it's a mountain and sea for one. For two, as you know, Kobe is one of the largest cities in Japan. But to me, Kobe doesn't feel like a city. You know, even though it's it used to be the fifth largest. Now I believe it's the sixth largest,
Okay.
right? It's more like,
you know
Yeah.
what?
what's that?
I didn't press record on this the whole time. We've only been using the audio from there.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Well, that's okay. That's Kobe. We forgive everyone. Don't worry about it. You know?
So, okay, well, oh man, that is so stupid. Okay, so let me think what I gotta do now. So if I can just start using this and mix both audio together and we'll see how that works. I'll try to do some audio magic.
Okay. You
Okay.
can do that.
All right, now start.
You're going to be editing anyway, right? So you can pause and test. See?
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't want to do that all over again, right? Okay. All right. So
Yeah. It's a very take it easy city. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that about it. And another thing, my sister, the one that lives in Spain, always says Kobe is like a Lego town, according to her. And what does she mean by Lego town? Because you know very well, Osaka, Tokyo, whatever, you're hit with thousands of restaurants, boom, 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 cars, people. Here, they're like pockets, right? You have the Kitanocho pocket. Then you have the Tor Road pocket. You've got the Sannomiya pocket.
right.
So it's like pockets of areas.
Right.
You're not hit from all sides everywhere
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
So you can walk in peace. And if you want to go to Alchemy or something, is one pocket. Tor West.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So we call it Legoland.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
cute.
So when people tell me what I like about Japan, so I like about Kobe, I often describe this, and I never really thought about it like that. But that we have several beaches, really long white sand beaches, well, light brown sand and then white sand beaches that extend from about like a 10-minute train ride from the center of Kobe to the next city, Akashi. You know where the big bridge is? There's beaches on either side of those bridges. There's Asagiri and Maiko on either side. So you could be at the beach with the bridge, beautiful, and it's a nice place to be in the summertime. Then we have where you live, looks like a mini Europe.
Yes. Yeah.
And the hill kind of has this sort of San Francisco or some European town, maybe like a Portugal look to it. Then the downtown Sannomiya area looks like a mini Tokyo,
Right.
with all the neon lights, and
Yes,
there's
yes.
just like restaurant, bar, restaurant, bar everywhere.
But again, it's in like a pocket, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
Right?
And then you have the Motomachi area, which also looks like kind of Europe because they have a lot of the old settlement buildings, like the old banks and the old post office and all that.
Because that went from where the present city hall is to past Daimaru was the old foreign settlement.
Oh,
so
right,
it was huge. It was huge.
And that's where you'll find all the brand goods like Prada and Armani and stuff in these really old buildings. And then you go east, the Okamoto area. It also has like a little European sort of flair to it. And then, of course, anywhere you go, you'll find pockets of like really Japanese stuff, Japanese udon shops, and there's that the water wheel, the udon shop, and
the ramen udon.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, and where I live, just south of where I live, kind of looks like Vancouver. So there's all these like pockets of Vancouver or Seattle. It's got all these pockets of like sort of really cool different things, but all in a Japanese way with really traditional Japanese things in the middle of it too. So it's just got everything.
Well, Harborland. It's kind of like the Fisherman's Wharf. In San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like you said, mix in with the Japanese, whatever they have to put in. Yeah.
So there's one thing, like I've said this in an earlier podcast, maybe the first podcast with Sean, it's like what Japanese do best is they take over many years of contemplation after thinking about it for a very long time, they take the best things
and make
from
it better
abroad and they make it better.
In most cases.
Because you'll find some of the best pizza in the world here. Some of the best baguettes in the world here. Some of the best croissants in the world here. As a matter of fact, probably the best baguette I've ever had is in Japan.
Yeah.
The best croissant I've ever had was in France, but the second best is in Japan.
Japan, Kobe.
Yeah. Some of the best coffee in the world is in Japan. Actually, a lot of places in Tokyo are really famous for that. There's an old cafe in Kobe, one of the oldest cafes in all of Japan, I heard. It started like 1868 or something like that, or it was, 1890. And I haven't been to it yet. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a super old cafe. No. And now we don't think anything of it. It's probably actually not that good, but I just want to go there once because it's like one of the oldest cafes in Japan. Anyway, sorry, what did I cut you off while you're saying? The reason, the Lego town. Yeah,
what do I love about Kobe? Why did I come back to Kobe? So it's my parents, but besides my parents, what do I love about Kobe? The sea, the mountains, and wherever you go, really, there's a short walk, from one pocket to another. Right. As you know, if I was to come to a live show of yours, and I want to run to another friend's live show, it's only like a 10-minute walk.
Right.
Yeah. That's convenient. It's very convenient.
From where I am to where Deepu lives, it's actually 2 stations, but I can walk to your place in 25 minutes.
Yes, you can.
So everything's pretty accessible. And it's kind of like the great mix of like I wouldn't say big city. Well, for anybody in Canada would call this a big city.
Yeah.
But it's a big city and small town mentality.
I think so. I think it's, like I said, Lego town, Lego land. So I think it's more like 10 towns put into one, kind of. I don't know how to explain it. It's in Japanese. I also say that I use the word very often. It's called otearaka. Otearaka means calm and easy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So outside of the hustle and bustle, I'm even talking about the people. Right. It's calm and easy. They're a little bit in the States. You would say a bit like country bumpkins sometimes.
Yeah.
Compared to Tokyo and Osaka, but that's what I like about it.
A lot of the people in Osaka, they were born in Osaka, but a lot of people from Kobe, like now many were born, but a lot of them came from outside of Kobe. They came from Akashi and Kafukawa and Himeji and stuff like that. They came to Kobe for better jobs and stuff. Another thing that you'll hear about Kobe people, tell me if you agree, is that they dress better than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
They really care about their appearance, seemingly. They want to look stylish.
That's been there for a long time, a couple hundred. But again, because of the foreign influence.
You think it's this style consciousness comes from...
Absolutely. So much so to an extent. Kobe shoes, okay? Shoes were one of the highlights of Kobe in a place called Regatta. That's where the best shoes were made. that if you were from Kobe and you happened to go to Tokyo, people will look at your shoe and say, you're from Kobe.
Wow.
Because they could not get it. It wasn't a chain thing. It wasn't in department stores. It was just different. It was fashionable.
Right.
And when it comes to clothes and all that, again, of course, the entire foreign influence on Indian, Korean, and again, the Japanese like to mix them, come up with their own fashion or whatever. So some we taught them, some they made on their own. And Kobe has always been known as a fashionable city.
I think because Osaka's more relaxed, you're going to see lots of fashionable people in Osaka. Don't get me wrong, but I think Osaka's more relaxed, so they dress more. They dress more casually. Osaka's also a place of business more than anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they dress more casually. I think maybe people in Kobe, they just have this worry about their appearance. They want to look good for other people.
I thought of that too, but maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Again, we say Kobe is small, right? I think, when we walk around, whenever we walk around, the chances are you're going to bump into someone you know. So maybe the people in Kobe, because they know if they walk out, they're going to meet people that they know. They're bound to meet. Even if you go to Daimaru shopping, you'll meet your neighbor or your friend. So they like to present themselves. They don't like to be caught out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of the reasons nowadays.
Right.
Right?
So okay. So and then so you had roots here, but I didn't have roots here. Like I didn't have any other reason except my desire to live in Kobe, because I started living in Takasago, which is just near Himeji. And when I came through Kobe on the train one time, I was like, what is this place?
Okay.
I was like, this is amazing. And because we stopped at Kobe, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Because I look out the window.
Was that Kobe actually Sannomiya, or was that?
No, well, the first stop, because coming from Kakogawa, right?
Yeah.
I got this job in Kyoto. I had to go to Kyoto for a job in maybe my first year. And so I went through Kobe, stopped at the station near here and looked. I was like, wow, this place looks like Vancouver or something like that.
All right, yeah.
Then the next stop, it was like, wow, this looks like Tokyo or something. And then the next stop was like Ashia or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Every stop was like kind of different. And I thought, that Kobe place, I want to go there. My buddy Mark, he would organize with a bunch of friends once, like the last Saturday of every month. It's like, let's go to Kobe.
Right, yeah, okay.
So I'd met him and he said, hey, friends of mine, we always go to Kobe last Saturday of the month. You want to come? And said, okay. So we went to the Brazilian restaurant. And I was
in
like,
Haveland?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, now I'm in heaven. Like, beautiful view right by the ocean, like really a super clean place. And then,
Did you
Brazilian.
grow up by the ocean? Or
Yeah, of
the
course.
sea?
Yeah, because we were there. And
Okay, so.
And so I was like, I need to live here. So then it was a couple of years later, I finally moved to Kobe. I could have moved to Osaka. I'd seen Osaka. I'd seen Kyoto. But Kyoto seemed beautiful but boring. Osaka seemed way too much.
Right.
And total concrete, and like you could just get lost there, and there's not a tree in sight. So Kobe was just a mix of everything. It was like pretty big city, but small town mentality with nature. And it's like, where in the world do you get places like that?
Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. I mean, you just said it. Small town, even though it's a big city.
Yeah.
Small town nature. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
So no regrets, right? That
No,
you've been to Kobe,
not
right?
at all. No, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your. Let me see if there's anything else. Anything else I want to ask you about your past, because you're
That you
just
don't
a
know already.
fountain of knowledge. And I know that I think they would be interested. Okay, so tell me. Tell me what it was like. So from when to when were you absent in Japan? You left when you were a young man to go to Sri Lanka. How old were you?
No. First of all, I graduated from Marist Brothers School. Then I went to university in Boston University.
Right, okay.
So you can't really say you're away, because I came home every year.
Okay.
Right. So that was 3.5 years of that. Back to Japan, and what was I going to do? Find a job. But the thing is, the kind of family I grew up in, and in many and most Indian families, you're expected to take over
Sure.
from your father, the business that's established, but you have to go through the mill first. And so I joined my father, then quit, then I joined, then I quit, then I joined, then I quit 3 times.
Wait, I'm getting the sense you're not a very agreeable person.
It's not that. Basically, I was telling my father, I thank you for bringing me into this world, sending me to the best schools, paying for my university, to come back to be a PM in your office.
Right, yeah.
You know, you gave me all this. Let me use those things to help.
Okay.
But in the Indian style, it's not done. You start at the very bottom, right? And you're like just doing filing work and stuff. And I said, I didn't go to university and come back for that. No, you got to do the filing work. So anyway, all that happened. And then he said, all right, why don't you go to my office in Hong Kong, work for your uncle? I was bored. I didn't have a job. I said, okay, went, but it's basically the same thing. But I lasted a few months longer there because I met my wife-to-be.
Okay.
And that was the only reason I stuck around in the office. Mm-hmm. But once I proposed and we decided to get married, I said, I have to do something. So I came back to Japan and opened my own office. And I was doing mail order for suits.
Oh, yeah.
Having been in Hong Kong, of course, which was at that time the number one mail order place in the world. I studied under this tailor that we had, blah, 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 blah. Came back, opened my office. Didn't know what I was doing, actually, but opened the office, started measuring people, and was making a living, kind of. Got married, came here, lived for a couple of years. And then my father approached me again. I said, no, thank you. He said, no, this time is different. It's Sri Lanka. I said, I don't want to go to Sri Lanka. I love Kobe. No, wait, listen. Sri Lanka, I want to open a garment factory. I said, yeah. He goes, yeah. And this time you will be a shareholder and a director. So there won't be any problems that you experienced before. I said, okay, that sounds interesting. And then we kind of came to an agreement. I said, I'll give you 2 years. I will give you 2 years. I will go. But if I don't like it, I'm telling you now, I'm leaving. Mm-hmm. And he agreed to all that. So that's how I ended up in Sri Lanka after I got married. So 18, university, back here at 21 and a half. 22, met in Hong Kong, married at 23, came back, 25 to Sri Lanka. And then from there, I was in that area, Sri Lanka, Singapore area. I lived in Singapore. I had 2 houses, actually, at one point, 28 years. But I would still come back to Kobe every year.
Okay, so most of your adult life, you were...
My business life was based in Sri Lanka.
I see. Okay. Okay. So what about your life now? What do you enjoy about? What do you do in your free time? Like, I know you like to go out sometimes. You like to see live entertainment.
Oh yeah, I love live entertainment, as you know. I don't have a job, right? Like I said, I was fortunate enough. Right? I did okay. Everything is fine. I have my monthly. So I can do what I want. And if at all I do anything, I try to volunteer my services more than anything. Lots of people come to me for advice or what have you. It's not a job. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. So I like people, basically. So I go meet people, and someone needs help, I'll try to help. Someone needs an introduction, I'll try to do an introduction. I myself have done quite a few events. Music events. Mm. The whole objective there was to provide for Kobe, the people of Kobe. Let's bring back the international spirit, which I thought was missing. Getting musicians to get to be friends, bringing them together. So I had all these kind of thoughts and ideas, and I put some of them together. You've been part of a couple of those events. Yeah, I just like doing stuff like that. Right now, I'm helping out a pre-expo committee. I'm not even part of it.
Right.
But they came to me and said, would you help? And I said, sure. I like doing stuff like that.
Okay, and what are your favorite like restaurants or favorite types of food.
In Kobe,
Yeah.
well, again, growing up the way I did, I eat everything.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult to say, what do you eat and when do you eat and what do you eat? But having said that, I would say I love yakitori probably the most.
Yeah.
I could eat yakitori once a week without a problem.
I could eat yakitori every day.
Yeah,
I think.
I was going to say, but but just to give them an example,
Yeah.
it's non-oily, it's delicious. Once a week. I love tonkatsu, but I could have that once every 2 weeks.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's
Same,
pretty heavy.
Same as tempura, which I love.
So yakitori is grilled chicken. Tonkatsu is breaded deep fried pork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tempura. But that's the Japanese half of me. How about my international side, right? So I could have Indian once in 8-9 days, for example. But I love French the most, I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
That I could have once every 4 or 5 days.
Right.
So it's a total mix, Italian, French, with ethnic, Thai, Korean, Russian, German, what you name it. I love it.
You think there's really good? We can cut this out so nobody's insulted. Is there really good Indian food in Kobe?
Is there really good Indian food in Kobe?
Yeah.
There are lots of Indian restaurants.
Yes.
For someone who wants to go to a restaurant, I would think maybe 2 or 3 that I could name. One is RT.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And there's Raja in Motomachi. That's pretty good. There used to be Gaylords, but it's no longer there.
Oh yeah, I went to Gaylord's a long time ago. They were in that great building, just
Near the Oriental Hotel.
right with they had this like domed window. at the
Yeah,
top.
that's right. Yeah.
That was in my first days of coming to Japan, coming to Kobe from Takasago with my buddy Mark, and we just go, hey, let's have Indian food. So we went and had Indian food. I had Indian food once in my hometown, and then the second time was probably here in Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to RT also, and Raja's great.
Raja,
I love
right?
that
But
place.
talking about Gaylord, that closed. But the chef and the manager, they opened a place called Lord's. Not Gaylord, but Lord's.
Oh, okay.
It's actually quite near my house. Okay? Small place. Much more reasonably priced than anywhere else. And they have a couple of items that are not in other restaurants, like naans, right? My favorite of theirs, naan filled with mincemeat.
Oh,
It's delicious.
yeah.
And it's very reasonable. So it's called Lord's. If anyone asked me today, I would say, what's your budget, right? RT towards the high end, I would say Lord. It's where you go comfortably in jeans or whatever.
Right.
You should go there, Lord's.
Okay, cool. I've only heard of the name, but
Yeah.
I haven't gone yet. There's one thing, like I think maybe Japanese food is different like this. That a lot of the best Japanese food is in restaurants. When Japanese want to have a meal or they want to like do something special or they want to meet other people, they go to a restaurant because houses are very small and it's difficult to cook and everything. Yeah. But on the other hand, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that Indian, Thai, whatever, that food is best at home. The stuff that people cook at home is probably better than the stuff in the restaurant, no? Or it depends on the cook.
Well, we would always say this is home-style Indian food, right? It is different because lots of things that we eat at home that you don't get at restaurants.
Oh, okay, this is different.
It is different in that sense, and vice versa. Because, like, say tandoori chicken, you need a special type of oven.
Right, yeah.
So we can make it at home, but it won't be the same.
Right.
It works both ways.
I guess that's true with Japanese. Like, for example, some people love their mother's karaage, the fried chicken. It's like no matter where they go, no matter what restaurant they go to, they're like, "Bah, it's not as good as my mother's." So, but then on the other hand, nobody has a charcoal grill in their house, so you can't make the charcoal grilled chicken like at a yakitori
And if you're
place.
talking food, and we talk not only Kobe but Japan.
Yeah.
I've always said this about Japan. there is no bad, lousy restaurant.
Yeah.
It's either it's okay, it's good, or it's very good.
Yeah.
But you could go to the boondocks somewhere and find a small mom and pop shop.
Right.
You know it's going to be clean. It's not. It's more than delicious.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's also a good thing about Japan. And if you take Kobe, you could just walk and you see something and walk in and eat. You know you're safe for
Yeah.
one. Yeah. And you're never going to get bad food.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I said this in my last podcast. It's not up yet. I've been backlogged, but when I meet foreigners abroad, in Japan, I ask them if they need help or whatever. If they look lost and I have time, I go like, "Hey, you guys speak English? Yeah. What are you looking for?" And so we want to go to Kyoto. This train, and then I'll always say, "By the way, there's no bad restaurants in Japan."
Yeah. Right.
Unsolicited advice, just like. Yeah, because a lot of people, walking around, they can't read anything.
That's right.
There's pictures of food, but you don't know if it's really good or not. Whatever.
That's right.
So, but, if the restaurant's open, it's at least good.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really safe. It's not like, you get places like Italy where tourists are always looking for the authentic food, right?
Plus, you can also get ripped off, which I've been ripped off twice in Rome.
Right.
Yeah. But in Japan, you're not going to get any of that.
No, you're not going to get ripped off either. No.
Yeah.
And in like, well, I guess it might happen in Japan because some places have higher rent. But when you wanna have your carbonara sitting beside a 600-year-old church, you're gonna pay double the amount for it. Because that's the tourist location.
Yeah.
Is the food bad? No.
No.
but people think, oh, that food is no good. We want to go to the authentic place.
No. It's,
okay, well, walk 20 minutes any direction. You'll find the authentic place,
Yeah.
and there's not going to be any 600-year-old church. And by the way, what the F do you know about Italian food anyway? If you're coming from America or Canada or Australia. So everything's going to be better than whatever you came from, especially Japanese food, except we have one problem in Japan is the foreigners get used to the sushi in their country.
Right.
We go abroad and, well, actually I haven't. Have I had sushi abroad? I don't know if I've tried it. I don't know. But people, I've had someone come to Japan,
Right.
went out, had sushi that I thought was amazing.
Right.
And I've been here a while.
Yeah.
And I've measured my standards against Japanese standards
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I said, this is really good, right? And they go, yeah, this is amazing. Okay, good. It's not just me who blindly thinks this is okay. Or, when you eat some rice and you go, rice here isn't very good. And the Japanese person goes, yeah, how did you know? It's like, I don't know. I just tasted it.
Yeah.
So my taste is well adjusted. Anyway, this guy went out for sushi, and he didn't like it that much. He's like, oh, I think the sushi in Canada is better. And I looked at Saudi. And I was like, Saudi, this is really good, right? And she's like, yes, this is really good. I said, okay, it's not the sushi, man. It's your taste buds. So now,
Also what you're used to.
right.
Yes, yeah.
Now what people like is what they like.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's who am I to tell you? It's like, whoa, how can you eat broccoli? I like broccoli. Shut the fuck up. Like, let me eat it. It's like, hey, you like Canadian sushi better than Japanese sushi?
Yeah.
Okay, great. But that's not the real sushi. This is the real sushi. Yeah. So, yeah.
But that's like saying hamburgers and hamburger steak.
Right.
Okay? I love the hamburger steaks in Kobe.
Right.
I'm not going to get that in the States.
Right, yeah.
So, to each.
Sure, to
Yeah.
each their own.
Yeah.
But some people do it now. Oh, I've also seen it on a YouTube video. I went to Japan. I tried the sushi. It wasn't very good. There's better sushi in California. It's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, because many people. I don't know about you, but even the conveyor belt sushi.
Yes. Yeah. Very
Even
good.
that cheap sushi is going to be better than whatever you're eating in Australia, probably, unless you're paying like $200 per person to
Yes.
eat at a fine sushi restaurant run by some Japanese guy.
But then, having said that, I told you I lived in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
I had the best sushi in
Oh,
Sri
really?
Lanka.
Okay.
The best.
There you go.
Why? It was so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of tuna in the Indian Ocean.
Right, sure.
Okay, so it would be catch up the day. I mean, every morning was tuna, whatever. And at the Hilton Hotel, there was this Japanese restaurant, and also one outside. I would go to both. The best sushi, Japanese chef. Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, it was fresh, not frozen at all. Right? Caught that morning, served that night. And for private houses, like people who knew, my Japanese friends, me and all that, I don't much like toro, okay? Right. I like the maguro, but my Japanese friends love toro.
So maguro and toro are both part of the tuna, but maguro is the red meaty part that doesn't have much fat, and the toro is the fatty part.
Right. But the point I'm coming to is this. So you have the maguro and the toro. Toro is more expensive.
Yeah.
Right? Generally, in Japan, wherever else you go. But in Sri Lanka, they eat tuna as well. Not sushi, but tuna.
Right.
In their foods and all that. A moldy fish, tuna, etc., etc. They dry them and what have you. But they throw away the toro pot. They literally throw it away because they don't need it. Once we caught on to that, and that fishing port was like half an hour from downtown, say Kobe, so half an hour away, the Japanese would go and they would get that kind of toro for like 500 yen.
Right.
So they were all having toro parties like every week, you know. Like it's like, okay, you have your maguro, but here's a toro.
Right.
And they're like, what?
Well, it's like, 40 years ago, Canadians were throwing away salmon eggs. Nobody in Canada wanted them.
Okay.
All of a sudden, Japanese were like, we'll take them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll give them to you for you pay to ship them. You can have them.
Well,
but then they're like, these
that.
Japanese love them. We should charge them. And now it's a big industry, right?
That's right. So the same thing.
Yeah, I guess. But so another thing is, so you probably know this, but maybe not, that the most sushi and most of the best sushi is frozen. They catch the tuna, they flash freeze it, so it keeps that and then it keeps that I want to say jotai condition.
Yeah.
And then they sell them frozen, and then they ship them, and then so the person's getting it frozen, not for very long, and then that's how they make the really crazy thin slices or the really block shape, because they cut it when it's frozen. Then they put it in the case, and it kind of thaws out by the time people come in to eat it. And then so best. So if you think that the best sushi is fresh fish, it's not always. But if you're beside the ocean,
that's right,
and the boat comes in, and the restaurant gets the fish, then that's a different story.
Right. But just for a little lesson here, or teach you something.
Yeah.
You are right about the frozen tuna and other fish as well, but take tuna, frozen tuna. Because, a lot of tuna is imported into Japan.
Sure, yeah.
Okay? So it has come frozen. But in the last 10 years, the big companies that export to Japan and the major companies in Japan is no longer frozen tuna. It's called super frozen.
Okay, yeah.
Now, what is the difference? Before, it would be frozen tuna. And frozen tuna you can keep for about a month, after you receive it.
Right.
Super frozen you can keep for 6 months.
Okay.
So now, basically what you're eating in all these places are super frozen tuna.
Okay, I see.
Now, it's just a little aside, but but that's the way the business has changed.
I see.
Yeah.
So what else is what has changed in Japan for better or for worse?
Many things have changed, but can we go back to the war and then 1954 when my parents came?
Absolutely.
There was a war. My parents came in 54, and we already went over how Japan was a devastated country, and for expatriates who made a living, servants, that was great. I want to go from 54 to 64.
Okay.
Which I find the most amazing time for me in Japan, looking at what Japan did, which I have never been able to replicate since, I don't think. Because I want people to think about it. You had the war. As far as my life is concerned, 1954, still very devastated country. But from 54 to 64, they invented the Shinkansen, the bullet train,
Right.
which up to today, no one in the world can replicate the way the Japanese do it.
Yeah.
And I find that totally amazing.
And 64 was the Olympics?
I was just coming to that. So they had to have the bullet train ready for the Olympics. So now you have the war. 54 is still devastated. 64, you have the Olympics. You have the bullet train. That's when Japan was really like flying for a while. Before we talk about the bubble. I mean, that's when they were building the roads and stuff and all these kind of things. That's the time. But the speed they did it with amazes me.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, because they were hardworking, and they would work, but my God, perfection.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always in my mind about Japan. Yeah.
Well, the Japanese traditionally took one day off a month,
Yeah, if that.
and that day was usually so they could like send letters or go to the post office to pick up some wash or something like that, or wash their clothes or you do some things like that. So they ran their errands on that one day, and then I heard some story. I forget where it was, but somebody asked, why don't you take any days off? And they said, well, why would I?
Yeah.
I'm doing like my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, whatever.
That, of course, has changed, as you know, right?
Sure. I mean, that's changing for the good, because when I came here, well, Jesus, even still now, you have to like put people's arms behind their back and force them to take a holiday. It's crazy. So I've had the same from my first day in Japan. I got here like 7:30 at night on March 31st and April 1st in the morning. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I was in class with my first class. I've been teaching the same
On
guys.
April Fools.
Yeah, April Fools. I've been teaching some of the same guys. It's been like 26 years now.
Yeah.
And over that time, I've slowly been breaking them down to
Right.
take more and more holidays.
Right.
And only now, like I'd say maybe past 5 years, have they been like, oh, I'm going to take Friday off so I can have a long weekend. Or it's my wife's birthday, so I'm going to take Monday off, or we're going to go to a hotel. It's like, I've been telling you to do this for 20 years. Why are you doing it just now? It's like,
But Brent, there's a little reason to that too, outside of influences like you and me and all that. In the old days, it was a given that you work for a company and you stay there for life.
right, yeah.
But on the other hand, the company takes care of you for life.
Yes.
When the company started breaking on that promise,
Right,
that's when the workers started saying that, what am I doing this for?
right.
So now, either they're working where they want to work, or they know that if they want to take holidays or whatever, and they're not giving a fair share, they'll just quit and go to another company. But in the old days, it was, you stay in that company all your life. That's what was the biggest change, I think.
Unfortunately, the time when the companies stopped providing all those extra goodies for employees, and the time when employees started realizing that, I'm not here for life, or or they're not giving me as much as I'm giving them.
Right.
It was probably about 20 years.
Yeah.
And then they started finally taking their holidays.
That's what I think.
But also things started changing in society too, right?
Yeah,
They started
of course,
getting this,
of course.
what do they call it? Something Friday?
Cool business.
Golden Fridays. They had some government initiative where they tried to convince people to leave work early on Fridays so they could go out.
That recently,
and,
last 10 years or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and spend
Money. They want them to spend money for the economy.
Right.
Yeah.
So they wanted people to leave work early on Friday and go out there. Thought it was a boost to the economy and stuff like that. But all that ended up happening was these guys would leave work not having finished all their work.
All right.
They would come back on Saturday to finish the work that they couldn't finish on Friday. So, yeah, just totally backfired.
It's still there, the Japanese mentality.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a bit different, but it's changed. Look at Golden Week. Okay, Golden Week is
First week of May.
series of holidays. Used to be 3 days holidays. Okay, and then that became, well, if it's attached to a weekend either side of Saturday and Sunday, you'll have 5 days. But then the Japanese who start to travel and all that, they said, wait a minute, if we have 3 days and we took another 2 days off, it'll be like a 10-day trip or a 12-day trip. And now that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's not Golden Week, which was meant to be 3 days.
Right.
It's now, on average, 10 days, I would say.
Yeah, sometimes 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the government is sort of helping, and kind of companies are sort of helping, and kind of people are getting the idea like, hey, I like going home at 6 instead of 9.
Yes.
And I like seeing my children grow up. And, I like taking a day off and,
But don't
doing
forget
nothing.
the wives.
Yeah, sure.
The wives meaning they're not going to wait for their husband till midnight like they used to in the old days.
That's true too.
Yeah. So the husband better come home and be part of it. So all that, of course, part of the change.
Yeah.
But by doing that, certain business areas have hit a mighty slump.
Right.
The nightclub type places, the kabakura we say,
yeah.
the cabaret clubs.
Yeah.
Well, the guys either cannot afford it anymore or they better be home soon. So all those kind of situations are in dire desperation at the moment.
Yeah. It used to be that sometimes, depending on the company, sometimes nightly, you'd work and then you'd all go out for something to eat.
Yes.
And then definitely if you had clients,
Yes.
you definitely Friday nights and other nights during the week, you take them out, and a lot of times you take them out where there are ladies present. Some of it is like a cabaret club where they have entertainment, and how much contact you're allowed to have with the women varies.
That's right.
Then you have hostess clubs where there's usually a pretty strict line between the hostess serving drinks and talking and the customer. And but yeah, so they would do that, but now that's decreasing also, probably because of the economy, but probably also because of people's desires. Like,
both.
I don't want to drink till 12 every night,
Yeah, both.
Yeah. So luckily that's changing. I think it's changing for the better, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but I think so when we talked in terms of families and so on and so on. But there was one good thing about that kind of business. It depends on how people look at it, right? And I always look at it this way because they're mostly young ladies, right, that work in that. And a lot of them were also university students. They were making a living by doing that job,
right,
because there weren't that many jobs available, or even up to now, there are not that many jobs available where you can get decent money, decent pay at the university level age. Now, as long as it's not funny or monkey business, I thought that was a good thing for them.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm sad that they've lost that area of opportunity, which is what's happening. And there's nothing to replace that kind of income.
In other words, what Deepu's saying is, won't somebody think about the young, pretty girls?
That's what I tried to do, I told you. So I'm thinking of some things, but nothing come to mind yet. But yeah, because we're talking about the economy, right? And how it rotates and moves. So that part, I'm a bit sad for them.
Yeah. Hey, this okay, sorry. There's one thing I want to ask you about, so please remember this thing. It's about a cafe you went to recently that I'm really interested in. But just to continue the topic of changes in Japan. So yeah, Japanese are finally starting to relax, they're finally starting to enjoy their lives and take holidays. What else do you think is improving for better or worse in this country?
Improving.
Or getting worse.
Or worse. One thing for sure that's getting worse is the pension plan for the elderly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so earlier we touched on once you work for a company, you're there for life. Well, in exchange of that, of course, the company has taken and deducted money, and the government has backed all of this, and you get a pension. So until about 20 years ago, that was fine, and you're living on that pension. But now, because the birth rate is so low, and the elderly is more and more populous, you're getting less and less pension money, or it's not going as far. and they're going to have big problems. They're going to have major. They already do, but they're going to have even more major problems. And I'm scared of that day.
I've never expected a pension, and so one thing, just to be totally brutally honest, if you come to Japan, you come to live in Japan, don't expect a pension. You gotta worry about your own future, because what's happening right now is people who have a lot of money, the government is not giving them their pension. So, you have a lot of money saved, or we know you have like this much money, or this many stocks, or whatever.
Everybody. They're checking into everything.
And so,
which was not part of the deal. I mean, you work, you get a pension.
Right.
That was the deal.
Yeah.
But they're doing all that. But not worse than that is they're delaying giving the pension even to those who should be getting it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Before it would be at age 60.
Yeah.
Now it will be age 70. Already talks that you're going to have to work because you'll only start getting money when you're 75.
Yeah, right.
I might not even live that long.
Right.
What are you talking about? So, yeah, that's a very negative situation in Japan.
Right. So, yeah, you got to take care of your own future, unfortunately.
Yes.
And if you end up getting something, bonus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's bad. And
what you're saying to them is absolutely correct. I would give the same advice.
Yeah.
You come here, save your money, put it somewhere else, buy property in another country or whatever. Don't count on the pension.
And by the way, I mean, you could do better for yourself than a pension if you put your money in an investment. And if you're living in Japan and you're making a good wage, the cost of living is actually really low.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Food is really
lunchtime deals are like unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable.
It's like I'm robbing them. It's like 800 yen. Like, give some examples.
Yes,
yeah. 800 yen for like a bunch of rice, 4 or 5 pieces of fried chicken with miso soup and a salad and a soft drink.
Yeah.
800 yen. It's like $5. Or maybe I'm exaggerating.
It's about
about 1,000 yen for karaage lunch. Yeah.
Say 1,000. Say 1,000.
$7 for lunch. Try to buy $7 lunch at freaking McDonald's.
Right. It's almost cheaper to eat lunch outside every day,
right,
than to buy food and eat at home.
Yeah.
Because you just gave an example of the 1,000 yen, which is a pretty good level. How about all those 400 yen, 500 yen bentos and stuff?
Oh yeah.
So
exactly.
if you consider that, 400 yen bentos,
right,
500 yen bentos,
you can't make that for 400 yen. There's no way.
So you could buy that every day, and that's your lunch at home.
Yeah.
Lunch over here is amazing. I don't know how they do it. I mean, it's amazing.
And the convenience stores, the convenience store ones, they probably tend to have a lot of preservatives and stuff in it. But when you go to a restaurant, they're just making the stuff fresh.
Yes.
I mean, they're putting the chicken in batter and deep frying it. So and then. Other examples are you get like really traditional Japanese one is Yoshinoya. Yeah. I always get the gyushaki teishoku, so it's the salmon and the meat that they put on top of the rice bowl, but it's in a separate bowl. So you have the rice bowl, a piece of salmon, grilled salmon. It's kind of salty, which goes good with the rice. You mix it with the rice, and then the meat, the miso soup, all the tea or water you can drink, hot tea or cold tea, and it's 500 yen,
something like that.
480 yen. I think the price increased. The sukiyaki one, that's great. The I think the price increased recently. It might be 520 or 540 yen, but still like $3 for that. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and if you're a heavy eater, order 2 lunches. It's going to cost you $6.
That's Japan. I mean, you want to eat expensive, you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want to eat cheap, you can do that. But again, we said, whatever you do, it's all going to be good anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about, I've got to go to the top restaurant. Not necessary.
So this cafe you went to, that's the one where they have people with I don't know the politically correct term anymore, disabilities.
Oh,
who
that one.
work from home
Yeah.
as your waitress, and their face or picture is on the robot. You explain it.
Well, more than the face and picture, it's like a video.
Okay, it's a
you're
video
actually
then.
talking to that disabled person
Right.
who's working from home.
Right.
So you could have a normal conversation on
Right.
video.
And so the robot comes and takes your order,
Yes.
and then the robot brings you your food too.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but that's another disabled person operating the robot. Okay, so you have one operating the robot, takes your orders, gets the food, brings it to you. Then you have, about the size of the bottle, a mini robot, and that's your waitress, so to say.
Yeah.
So while you're eating and everything, you can have a chat. Now you reserve your book. They only allowed like 15, 20 minutes per customer
Right. Okay.
to talk with. So that was a friend of mine who was disabled. So I reserved her and we talked for a while. And then the robot comes, which is another disabled person.
Wow.
But that's also video. And then I was talking to both of them and they started talking to each other. And this one is from Tokyo and my friend is from Nishinomiya.
Wow.
So yeah, I wish they would do more of that.
Because the problem I have with all this robot shit is that they're getting rid of workers, putting a robot there, making me order from a freaking tablet.
Oh, I hate those.
So, yeah,
what you're talking about.
So I'm working here.
Yeah.
The price is not cheaper. I'm not making a salary for the hour I'm there, serving myself, whatever. I go to check out. There's no person at the cashier. It's just like, and so these companies, they're getting rid of their staff, providing robot, making the freaking customer work, and taking all the money.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I don't like. I don't
avoid
even
those
like
places.
this menus where you have to push buttons.
No,
but
I don't.
But what I was talking about, what you asked me
Yeah.
about, is not a cafe or anything like that. It was just a temporary pop-up, 2 weeks to help the disabled, and they tried to do it as many places as they
Oh,
can.
I thought it was a regular cafe.
No, it was no. It's not a regular cafe at all. It was done for 2 weeks and done. Next, they went to Kyoto or wherever.
Oh.
So I was just supporting that company who was doing this for the disabled people.
That should be a thing, man. That should totally be a thing.
Right. So that's where it's different. I didn't go to a cafe served by robots where, like you said, they're taking away jobs in some sense.
No. But I thought this was a permanent cafe that we could go to. I was thought that looks cool. I'm gonna go do
No,
that.
it was just for 2 weeks.
And so these people with disabilities, sometimes they're physical disabilities, but in the case of your friend, she has like agoraphobia. She's a fear of going outside, or she has some other psychological
She had a
problem?
stroke, and she's like half paralyzed.
Oh, okay.
So she can't walk around, move around,
Oh, okay.
and she can talk very slow. She can talk, but very slowly.
I
Her
see.
brain is working, but very slow in talking.
Because
So
something
it's for people like that.
something you posted,
Yes.
maybe it was the other robot person was talking. You posted something and I read about it, and the person said that they had some kind of psychological problem, that they had difficulty. They couldn't talk to people in person. They couldn't meet person. They were like afraid. of
No, it
people.
wasn't. This is for the disabled, basically.
Then I read it somewhere else, or
Yeah.
maybe I read about the company or something like that, and found examples.
They might have been doing some others, but this was all geared for people whose brains are working and everything, except they're disabled one way or the
That's
other.
a great idea,
Yeah.
because if they want to contribute to society, but they can't leave their house physically,
Yes,
then
they need a job, right?
Yeah, it's win-win.
So that's a job for them.
Yeah.
It's not much money for them, and it's only lasts maybe 2 weeks. And next time this lady, my friend, gets a job with this company, could be 6 months later, maybe.
Right, yeah.
So it's not really an ongoing job, but anything helps, right?
And not only that, but it makes customers feel good. Like, imagine if a cafe opened like that.
Yeah,
We have a choice to go here for lunch.
yeah.
But it's like, let's go to this place. Like, it kind of makes me feel good to support.
Well, if you saw my
these
post,
people.
I said, chance to feel good and do good. That was
Yeah.
how I posted it.
Right.
And I thought people will go because that was the reason,
Well, I planned on definitely going, but I
Yeah.
thought it was a permanently open
No,
cafe.
but like you say, I wish it was.
Yeah.
If we knew the reason, then we would go, right? Mm-hmm. Unlike what you were mentioning earlier, I don't like to go to a restaurant where it's all robots and all that.
No,
but
no,
if
I
it was
refuse to go to
but
those
if it's
places.
for this reason,
Yeah.
and you feel like you're contributing,
Yeah.
and the food is the same food and it's good,
Yeah.
of course we will go there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to encourage those kind of things, but I'm not involved. I just like to help. Yeah.
There's places in. This is hilarious and beautiful at the same time. Like the first time I saw it, I teared up. So there's a cafe, and there's several places I've imitated this now. There's a cafe where they have people with Alzheimer's working. And these people, so what they say, they say our staff, they're older people and they have Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And please be aware of this. And you may not get the food you ordered, or you may not
There
get your
really
food.
is a cafe like that?
Yes. So there's old people and they work there and they're fine, whatever, but and you say, they say, okay, what would you like? And they take your order, and then sometimes
they might forget about you.
right. Sometimes they'll make a note, but sometimes they won't, and then they'll bring something to you.
Where is
It's
this
not
cafe?
what you ordered, but you just eat it anyway.
Where's this cafe in Kobe?
No, not in Kobe.
oh.
I heard about it on YouTube, and I'm not exactly sure where it is. But several places like this have imitated their. But it's kind of it's beautiful because these people go in there knowing that this is not just some old lady; it's some old lady with Alzheimer's, and she otherwise would be at home, but now she's out, and everybody. And so, what I mean by that is that younger people who would typically just go udon, tea, whatever, and then get to take their order. Now they feel like they want to be nice to this person, and there's a lot of communication going on. So now you have like old ladies and old men talking to young people, and the people think it's kind of hilarious that these people lose their memory and forget what they were supposed to do, and people just kind of laugh about it. So it's sort of embracing it, in a way. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
anything else you want to ask me about? History, people
Oh,
I don't
man.
like, people I like, what kind of shit I've gone through, or
I can't.
whatever.
I can't. It'd have to be a whole new podcast to talk about people you don't like and people who don't like you. So we need another 2 hours. But I like you, Deepu.
Thank you, Brent.
And so, so no, I think, well, I don't know how this has been an hour, and we did it. It was probably an hour before I realized this thing. So,
You have a
no,
lot of editing to do.
yeah, a little bit of editing with this one. I'm gonna have to do some magic with that audio. But no, there's tons to talk about. But no, there's exactly what I wanted to hear about the old. I'm doing this Kitanozaka.
Yeah.
About the old growing up in Japan, because how many people do I know who are foreigners who grew up in Japan like from a long time ago, and hearing about the old days
And the foreign influences. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the Kobe Regatta Athletic Club. That club was responsible for teaching soccer to Japan and most of the major sports. Okay? Which is why when Japan held the World Cup, not the last one, the one before, 25 years ago, our club...
2001?
Yeah, 25.
2003?
Our club, and there's a sister club in Yokohama called the Yokohama Country and Athletic Club.
Right.
And we used to have what's called the Interport every year. We play each other in every sport.
Okay.
But when they had the World Cup in Japan, our club, of course, being the oldest, was invited to play against the Yokohama club at Yokohama Stadium before the first match of the World Cup.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like we just introduced it. We had a huge saying and all that. Our club was responsible for building the first golf course in Japan. That's the Rocco Golf Course.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And I can go on about the crawl. Japanese never did the crawl for the Olympics and all that. Our club member taught them the crawl, and 8 years later, Japan had its first gold medal in the crawl, for example. So our club contributed the most to the city of Kobe.
And it wasn't just for foreigners, right?
It was just for foreigners.
It was just for foreigners.
It was just for foreigners.
When did they start? But you're talking about teaching Japanese. So how could they teach Japanese if they were just in? It was only foreigners at the club.
It was only foreigners at the club teaching Japanese what?
Swimming and soccer.
Oh, no. They would. When we play soccer, we have to play against opponents, right?
Oh, so your club played against Japanese clubs.
So the members are all foreigners, but we were mixing with the Japanese in various ways, dancing and all that. If you say it today, maybe even half of these people are going to laugh, and because I used it yesterday, and someone said, "What?" I said, "Listen, the proper English in those days was called social intercourse." But the moment you say that, people are going to say, "What are you talking about?" Whatever. Right, I said, "No, you don't understand. No one uses it nowadays, but it's in our bylaws that we are there for social intercourse." Right. And what that meant was drama, sports, and all that. So this club, it's also 5 years older than Kobe City Hall. If not for this club, there wouldn't be no Kobe, as far as I know. And as far as I know the history. Kobe was just a fishing town, was never a city until we came along.
But what year was the KRC founded?
1870, and City Hall is 1875.
Okay, well that's because Japan opened up in 1868, 1869 actually.
Yes, that's right.
So right, so
it was opened up.
Wow, that's pretty soon after. Now, so sorry, I'm asking the same question again. I want to understand. So members, you had to be a foreigner to be a member of the club, but when you had sporting events, Japanese people could come in and join it?
Yeah, well, we had to.
Social events? Okay.
They had to, yeah.
I see.
Oh, yeah. Japanese could come into the foreign settlement with permission. Mm-hmm. And of course, there'll always be permission.
Right.
The people of Kobe and foreigners, thanks to this KRC in a huge way, very friendly. And this is 1870 onwards, right?
Right.
During the war...
But there was a longer history of foreigners being in Kobe, a slightly longer history.
But not really. I mean, yeah, if you're talking the samurai days or one or two here or there, maybe.
Yeah, because it was pretty closed.
Yeah, it was closed till 69,
yeah.
You know. But then during the war, 1940s, during the war, because the international people in Kobe and the Japanese people in Kobe were so close, it was a smaller city then, right? Mm-hmm. But thanks to the sports, the social intercourse, like I say, was so tight. During the war, the Japanese citizens of Kobe told the foreigners to go up, you know where I live, right? Up the hill, a compound for the foreigners. It wasn't a camp. They weren't like locked in or something. It was more like, here's space, please go there, you'll be safer there.
Right, because foreigners were here during the war. I see, yeah.
So very close, the foreigners and the Japanese.
I see.
And they would do that in some other pockets, so please go there. So in Kobe per se, during the war, there was no fighting between the foreigners and the Japanese. It was helping each other.
What, as you were growing up, how were international relationships viewed? Was there a lot of discrimination?
You mean couples
so
and
like
stuff?
Foreigners marrying Japanese?
No, it wasn't looked down upon at all. It was perfectly fine. We were just together, foreigners and Japanese. In fact, I say my class was all kinds of people, this and that, but lots and lots of mixed marriages.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I see.
Yeah. So it's totally.
Well, I mean, I know there were a lot of mixed marriages, but how they were viewed by outsiders is
in Kobe, no problem. But that I keep saying no problem, but you know, Japanese, right? They're not going to show you everything on the outside. But generally, you can feel that it was not a major problem. Yeah.
Because even now, you know, there are some families like if some guy tells his parents is like, oh, my girlfriend's from England or whatever, they might be like, Oh, really? Oh, foreigner. And they might not be. They might not be thinking anything prejudiced about the person, but they would think like, but we don't speak English, and you're different cultures, and this might not work out. And I heard about a lot of divorces between international couples, and so they might just be realists. So there's still these days.
I mean, there's partly truth to all of that too, but not really looked down upon anymore. I mean, no, not even in those days. Like I said, not in my city.
Yeah.
I can't speak for all of Japan.
Yeah.
But we were so international that it was like kind of normal,
I see.
Foreigners dating Japanese. I mean, who are you going to date? And vice versa, Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, like, because it happened to me one time. I was walking around with my girlfriend at the time, Yuki, and some guy said something that was like obviously directed at us. And I said, what did he say? And he said something like, maybe they said like, 彼女は凱旋やな. Like, Gaisen is Gai Kokujin Semmon. She's the kind of girl who dates foreigners.
Yeah, very demeaning to her. But
sure, they meant it demeaningly.
Yes.
But I said, but you are the kind of girl who dates foreigners. Like, why is that? Is that an insult? And they say, they think like because basically they're calling me a slut.
That. No, that's what I meant.
And I was like, okay, well.
No, you're always going to get some of those guys. You're always going to get them.
Sure, but that was like that was 23 years ago. But
you'll probably still get them here and there. But we're always talking generally, and generally, they're really good people in Kobe.
No, I've heard more that like Japanese guys sometimes they have an inferiority complex about foreigners, and I think it stems from like partly from the war. They lost the war. These big American dudes came in, and they were like, "Oh, these are the guys I see in movies," and and of course they won because they're so huge, And I think they just maybe they just thought like
you keep saying they, but when you're talking the war and everything, most of them are dead now. They're old. They're gone.
Sorry, no, so, but at the time, because
at the time,
and a lot of because MacArthur wisely didn't let any of the battle-hardened dudes. He didn't give them posts in Japan. He sent them home. He gave all the posts like guarding people in Japan to all the newbies because there was no bad blood.
Yes.
So you had all these 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, blonde, blue-eyed kids from Oklahoma in Japan suddenly, and they hadn't fought in the war, or they'd fought very little, and suddenly they were like getting paid to stand around making sure that Japanese people didn't fight over bread, and they had all the prostitutes they could handle, and they were getting paid for their efforts, and it was like a really cushy position. So probably Japanese who'd just been defeated, looking at these young, virile dudes, tall guys, and thinking like, well, I'm not that tall, and oh, and look, he has like blue eyes or whatever. And no reason for them to think that, because Japanese guys, there's handsome Japanese guys, they're cool, they are smaller in stature generally, but they fit the size of Japanese women. So, but still, I think I said in the last podcast too, like, I probably because of the richness of the West, colonization, and movies, probably movies more than anything, a lot of non-white people put white people on a pedestal. It's like, I didn't ask to be, I want to be the same as everyone else. I want everyone to be equal. So, but to get special treatment just because of the color of my skin, that doesn't, I'll take it, but it doesn't, there's something actually, kimuchi warui, how do you say that? A little icky about it, So, but those guys, and, foreigners who lived in Japan afterwards never asked to be like, oh my God, look at him. He looks like a movie star. It's like, no, I don't. You have no idea because you think all the whiteys look the same.
But the other side of that is, and that's something I really don't like, is that there are these kind of foreigners in Kobe, right? that take advantage of that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I hate them. I really don't like them. Like you said, it's another day. But those kind of people, I put in the place whenever I can. Because it's those kind of people that make it bad for both sides, the Japanese and the, you know?
And I think maybe what you're talking about more, so tell me if I'm right, is the people who kind of expect it.
Yeah.
I'm American.
That's right. I should get this, or I should be that, or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that because I play in bars a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen that really icky behavior where you just want to punch someone in the face.
Right.
With guys who push themselves on Japanese girls because Japanese girls are typically way too polite to guys who are like pushy.
That's right.
And while I'm up on stage playing, I see the guys like pulling the girl on the dance floor and she says no, and which all Japanese girls do. And so then does no really mean no? We're not talking about sex and rape here. We're talking about, would you like to dance? Even if I ask you, hey, Deepu, come dance with us. And you're like, no, come on. No, I don't. Come, and then you come with us. Yeah. There's that kind of like, no, I don't want to dance like that. But there's also and I could see it. It's like, she was like, no, like, I don't want to dance. And then she's like this. With her friend, she's trying to talk with her friend, trying to have a drink.
That's what I mean.
Basically, off. Yeah. And these guys are like, well, I'm, you're supposed to like me because I'm handsome.
They're super cool. But that's to do with girls, right? And I've seen too much of that. But not only with the girls. If you're ordering something or whatever, the way they call the waiter or something, for example. Hey, like some of those kind of things. And, there are some foreigners who take advantage because they're foreigners.
Right.
Or they think they deserve it, or they can do whatever they want. No, you can't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've seen a few people like that. Not many. Most of the people I know are really nice and polite and try to go along with what Japanese are doing and everything. And or at least those are the people who are my friends. Well, of course. People who behave otherwise are not my friends.
Exactly.
And but this what we're talking about. And I'm kind of referring to 15, 20 years ago, and that's when I was going out more often. But we currently have a lot of tourists who are misbehaving. So this is a good message for you when you come to Japan. A lot of tourists come to Japan because they love the politeness and the orderliness and the way Japanese do things and their shyness and everything. But some tourists take advantage of it.
That's going to happen always, right? But I was talking more about people here. But for the tourists, don't worry about it. Not Kobe. Don't worry in Japan. I mean, that's all I can tell you. It's probably the safest country in the world that I can think of.
Oh, yeah. Probably if my podcast has had any constant message, it's like this place is like the safest place you'll ever go.
Ever.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah. Good, man. That was
thank you.
Yeah, great job. Thank you for all the information. Have to have you back again sometime.
We'll get to the juice spot in part 2.
Maybe we'll fill a glass with some Japanese whiskey next time and get you talking.
Then I might tell you who I don't like.
Okay, thanks, man.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.